whole haircut. I'm going to sort of just show you half the head, simply because it's, you know, just for the purpose of the demo. It's going to end up quite a long demo. So what I've done is I've just sectioned some of that hair away, but actually you don't really need to section when it comes to this haircut. But you can see I'm just sort of going to concentrate on one half, and I'm going to move around and show you how to cut that half, and obviously the other half you do exactly the same but the opposite way. Okay, so like with our usual short graduation, we're going to start in the middle. Okay, and same as before, we're going to take a little orange segment. And with any graduation, the degree of graduation you put in obviously depends on how far away from the head you hold your fingers. Okay, so as you noticed from last week, as opposed to our first bit of graduation we did, the first one was really low graduation, so our fingers were pointing sort of near enough, literally just taking the corner off that one limb. Then last week we went up slightly steeper. This week we're going to go up, you know, really quite steep. Okay, so we're going to go in, and so you can see this mirrors a little bit like a uniform layer, but obviously you're just creating a bit more of an angle than the uniform. So you're still following that curve. Okay, so you can see I'm going to take it in quite closely. Keep my thumbs falling apart. Right, so we're going to move alongside. So same as last week, exactly the same principle, but on a much shorter scale.
Rachel,
I'm going to cut.
do you want to use my one?
Okay. Okay, I think it's just really old that one. So right next to the section, you can see your guideline. So we're going to cut bang on the guideline. So we're just going to move around in little orange segments. Okay, right way to the bottom. So you may find you'll have to cut your section, stop cutting, comb it down into place, then carry on going. Don't, whatever you do, try and cut it all in one go, because what you'll do is you'll cut yourself in here. Okay, so don't be frightened to have to take it in two sections. Okay, so we're going to move around. So yeah, I think you'll find, if you think back to this morning, Bryony, once you get a good guideline on there, it's really easy to see.
I found the guideline quite hard to find, actually.
Did you?
Until it was, because when I sprayed it down it was too hard to see, but as soon as the water disappeared, like evaporated near enough,
Yeah.
it's a bit dry, a bit wet, I found it a lot easier to cut it.
When it was drier?
Yeah,
Oh, right.
than really heavy wet.
I'm the opposite myself. I find it easier when it's
You
wet.
take off from your last section.
So you,
with
yeah,
that,
so you're
and
holding
then
on. Yeah, you're holding on to
take
your
If
the
you're
last
struggling-
section that you've got, and you're taking on a bit. So you can see there's my guide that's underneath. So you're following around the curve. Obviously, you may do a slightly longer version of this, and you also will do shorter version of it. Okay, but we're going to go midway here, right? And then just to make sure I'm getting right in that edge, we'll do the same again. There's my guide. So like with any of your cuts, if you can't see your guide, don't take it. Okay? If you can't see your guide, don't, resection, take a little bit less hair, a little bit less of your new hair and a bit more of your old section, and you'll probably be able to see your guide. That's when you'll make mistakes when you're cutting, if you can't see your guide properly and you just plough on in there. Okay, so what we're going to do, as you come round here, there's my guide. So we're going to follow that curve around. So you'll notice I'm following the curve of the head there. Okay? So what you're starting to notice, and like I say, these don't lay quite as well as like when you're doing it on an actual, someone's, an actual person. So I don't really like showing you on these. I do like to, where I can, try and show you on a live client, which is quite hard because obviously normally I pick someone out of the group and no one in this group's got short hair, so that's quite difficult. So I might, well, if I can, I might arrange a model for next week, for Thursday, to see if I can get someone to come in and I can show you on a person, because it is far easier. But just so that you know, just so we can sort of get an idea, we'll start tonight.
So do you leave that little tail bit?
You can do. You can leave a little tail, or you can take that right in. So it depends on on the look.
Man or woman.
Yeah, yeah, pretty much.
Do you
Some
do that
people will
angle?
like a feathered end bit, you know, like at the bottom. I always think it looks slightly more feminine, but you can, obviously what you can do is you can leave it, and then you can always go back and take it off at the end if you think, well, you know, you don't want it to be that feathery. But I always leave it a bit feathery because I don't want it to, you know, I don't want it to
But
look
for
too
bloke,
severe.
you take it off and possibly use clippers to get rid of
Yeah,
it.
so and on a guy you'd probably be doing it slightly nipping it in slightly more at the nape. I'm sort of bringing it out a little bit because I want to keep it a bit more feminine. Alright? So basically all you'll do is you follow that right the way round by the ear. So again there's my guideline there. So you can see how we come about. So you're following that same angle as you come round here. You can see you're going to do that all the way forward. Okay, there's my guide there.
And you have to brush the hair forward, do you? Because you're brushing it all forward as you're cutting it, and then...
Brushing it forward. In what respect, lovely?
Towards the face.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, only because I'm just seeing. Yeah, well, you can do either or really, but I'm just bringing it that way to see the shape emerging.
Oh, right.
So I'm going to bring it right the way to the front. So you can still see my guide there. And again, on that very front section, you might want to leave a bit longer so that you can leave some feathery bits around the face. So some people might want it really short and severe around there. So basically what you've done is you've got to the point where you've got quite a long graduation and that's sitting on the ear. Sometimes some people won't want it cut right round the ear, some people want a bit left on the ear, so this is where it may change from person to person. But obviously it's all short graduation. So that is a version, that there is a version of if it was short graduation they didn't want their ears completely showing. So obviously we cut it to the ear. This morning you cut round the ear, didn't you? So what you do is once you've followed that short graduation in, what you would do then is to get it shorter, which is really difficult on these to show you, but on a person what you do is literally put your middle finger, place it just behind the ear, and what you can do then is comb the hair forward onto your finger, and that's when you'll get all those little bits. And you see now I've got lots of little uneven bits that haven't quite reached, so I'm taking that up there. And this is when you would do some freehand. So obviously on a person it's far easier because you can move the ear forwards and backwards. Obviously on these you can't. But you would literally obviously bend the ear forward and you're going to freehand around the ear.
It's more bloke.
Yeah. And sometimes it is. Sometimes you would perhaps do it a bit like that. So you'd freehand around the ear and you'd have some length, not as much as that, but you'd perhaps have some feathery length around the front. Again, that's what I'm trying to say with these, it's very difficult to show you because that ear is rigid, it doesn't move. It's really difficult to show you how you would move around that ear on these heads, which is why I do, where I can, like to show you on a real life head. But you can see that shape starting to emerge, you can see what sort of shape you're getting. When I turn that round, that is what your graduation, that is graduation, if you know what I mean, that angle at which you hold it. So again, you could have took that in closer, you could have done a slightly longer version. So like with any graduation, your degree of graduation that you put in, your first cut is your guideline. Okay, so if you want more length, you obviously pull out of it. If you want it to be nice and close to the head, sometimes you will literally be resting your fingers against the scalp to get it as short as you can physically get it with your fingers. More so on a gent's haircut, but you may find that also on, you know, when you're doing short hair. Okay?
So
So
Rachel,
does that kind of make sense? I know on these, like I say, it is much harder. And obviously if they didn't want, a lot of this around the ear is going to be freehand. So you're going to find yourself just literally, you know, you're going to be freehand cutting. So you're not going to be holding your fingers, you know, holding the hair with your fingers or using your comb to hold like you do sometimes. A lot of it is going to be freehand. So when you're working on a person, it's much easier to almost fold the ear back out of the way, so you can fold it back and then go around the ear, so it's far easier. Okay, like I say, on these it's much harder because that ear's rigid. Alright, so obviously then you do exactly the same all the way through there, and you follow that haircut through. And then on the top there, you may well go into a uniform layer then, so you blend that into a uniform layer. Okay, so what we would do, to show you how you would obviously do that. sometimes you might leave a bit more length on the top, so you might not want to take too much length off, but generally you would blend that up into a uniform layer, so I'll show you what I mean by that. Yeah, so you can see the guide we cut there, so I'm going to follow that up.
Just do it equal length at the top and the bottom.
Yeah, so you're following your guide. So you're pulling it out exactly the same angle as you did with your graduation. You see your guide under there. I'm going to take that off. What I think is also, guys, with cutting, I think sometimes the problem comes when you're over cautious. And what you'll find is when you're cutting, the more you do it, the more confidence will come. But the more confident you are in what you're doing, the less mistakes you'll make. Yeah. What happens is you're generally making your mistakes when you're checking over. That's when you go wrong, when you start to go, I'm just going to check that, and then you comb it a different way and think, oh, I didn't. Now I'll take that bit off, and then you let go, and then you comb it a different section again, and then you see a different thing again. And you think, what you've got to do with cutting is be really sure in what you're doing. You're following your angle, you're finding your angle, and you're cutting. Generally, people make mistakes when they are looking for mistakes. That's when you make your mistakes, when you go over and you go over and you go over. So what you really must start to do now you've learned most of the basics, is to really put that into practice and think, right, I know what I'm doing here, I know what angle it is, I know what the projection is, I'm going to do it. And you've really just got to do it and be sure in it. Don't keep going back over it, checking it. I don't want to see anyone cutting, double checking. No, cut your section, move on to the next section, and you'll find you'll make far less mistakes, because that's when you make your mistakes, when you keep going over. Alright? So at this stage, I know some of you perhaps don't feel like you're ready to be let loose on the public, but really that's what you need now. You need to put into practice what you've learned on people, and you'll find yourself getting more and more confident, and all the skills you've learnt with your cutting, this is when you'll fly with it. Do you know what I mean? You can go over and over it on tuition heads, but there's going to come a point where you've really just got to dive in both feet first and just go for it. And obviously during these client sessions when we're in here, that's what I'm here for. Don't forget, I'm here to help you. If you get through a cut and you think, oh, I'm a little bit stuck, just need a bit of guidance, that's what I'm here for. Come and get me. But you've got to just have a little bit of faith in what you're doing now, okay? Really do just have the confidence to know that what you think is right is right. Very rarely will it be really wrong. Do you know what I mean? Now you know your angles and everything. Okay, so that you can see how I've blended that in. And then when we come to the top, what we would do then, so obviously this is what I mean when I say go into a uniform layer. You're going to find your guide, and then you'd follow that all round through.
But you're still keeping it
there.
longer on top.
Possibly, depends what you're doing. It depends what you're doing.
You seem to just do the uniform layer there at the side.
Yeah.
And then when you went
this
further
was graduation,
to
wasn't
the
it, from
front,
here.
you've
So
come out.
Yeah, so this is all
So it's
graduation.
just up to the crown.
Yeah, so graduation to there. Once you get to there, then you're going to go up into your uniform layer to cut the rest of it.
Right, okay.
Alright, so the top bit will be around uniform layer. The rest of it will be graduation. Okay, so what you'll also notice now is when you're doing a haircut, you'll very rarely be doing a whole of one type of style that you've learned. Today, you did on that gent, you did a bit of short graduation, you did a bit of uniform layer. You on your client this morning, you've done a one length cut, and then you've done some long graduation. So what I'm trying to say is you'll very rarely do the whole of one haircut. You'll be merging what you've learnt now into, you might do 2 or 3 different techniques on the one head, and they'll all merge together. Okay, so you can see now your techniques that you're learning, how you piece them together, and they become a style. Okay, so on this, your short graduation really is on your perimeters. On the inside, it's going to be a uniform layer. Alright?
Okay.
So what I'm going to do, I think
And
with
what
this...
about nearer the front? When you came round at the front, is it more angled again?
No, it's exactly
She seemed
the same.
to do more uniform layer there, and then...
No, it's exactly the same.
Exactly
so you're
the
following
same.
your graduation round here. Don't
Right.
worry too much about that, because when you get to that point, I will come and help you when you get there. But it is just